sirna margalayu nenggih Sang Raden Rajamala katujah nenggih Sang Balawa nalika semono sigra kacemplungaken ing sendang watarya sendang panguripan nalika semono ing jagat gaweaning para dewa dupi kacemplungaken sendang watari saknalika waluya jati temah nirmala kaya wong gregah tangi saka nendra. Nika sendang watari mang cemplungi panah. Itu sendang watari. Masukkanlah panah pusaka paduka ke sendang watari, Raden. Jalanat legedeking jagat sukertaning bawon. Bla 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 bla. Sendang watari wis tok cur tok lulur. Aku ora nrima tak cebur sendang watari. Wah. Bla 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 bla. Kalian lupa satu hal, bahwa aku sang Raja Mala. Aku adalah raja dari semua Sumala. Hari ini engkau telah membuat kesalahan dan aku akan mati bersamanya. Tapi ingat, aku mati, aku akan berubah menjadi penyakit yang mudah menular dan mengerikan. Aku yang ngerti ya, jam telu. Menyublim.
Oke, silakan. Boleh. Bentar, saya lagi kirim ke.
Oke, udah semua.
Ya.
Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the Switzerland and the Principality of Liechtenstein in Bern, His Excellency Mulia Mandar Syahadat, the President of Union International de Marionette or UNIMA Indonesia, His Excellency Samodra Sriwijaya, Deputy Director of Museum Redberg, Dr. Johannes Belts, the Curator of Wayang Exhibition, Mrs. Eva Christian van Rooijmond, our Dalang from Yogyakarta, Ki Catur Benyek Kuncoro, the members of the Museum Redberg, ladies and gentlemen in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Good morning from Bern, good afternoon in Jakarta. On behalf of the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Bern, we would like to warmly welcome you to our webinar today on Javanese Wayang, the stories about life and about the world. It is the joint event by the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Bern in cooperation with the Museum of Redberg in Zurich and Union Internationale de la Marionette or UNIMA Indonesia. We would like also to extend our warm welcome to our speakers or panelists today who will give us enlightenment about Wayang, and especially for our Dalang and the team who will be performing live from Yogyakarta, Indonesia today. Today we also have a special guest who is also a big fan of Wayang, Bapak Peri Warjio, the government of Bank Indonesia. Thank you, Pak, for today. And during the next 90 minutes, we will enjoy the live performance from Yogyakarta and listen about the explanation about Wayang from the experts. So to begin our webinar today, please welcome His Excellency Ambassador Mulia Mandar Syahadat, the Ambassador of the Republic Indonesia in Bern, to give the opening speech. His Excellency, you have the floor.
Terima kasih, Bu Ruth. Selamat pagi, Bapak Ibu sekalian. A very good morning to you all. His Excellency Ambassador Samodra Sriwijaya, the President of Union Internationale de la Marionette of Indonesia, Dr. Johannes Belts, Deputy Director of Museum Redberg, Mrs. Eva Christian von Rooijmond, our Curator, Ki Dalang, Ki Catur Benyek Kuncoro, our Dalang today, Bapak Gubernur Bank Indonesia, Pak Peri Warjio, terima kasih banyak Pak. It's really a pleasant surprise for us to see.
My pleasure, Ambassador. My pleasure.
to Pak Peri this morning in the middle of his activity. Members of the Museum Redberg, ladies and gentlemen in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, hadirin Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati, sekali lagi good morning from Bern, good afternoon in Indonesia. First of all, I would like to thank all speakers and Ki Dalang Catur for giving their time for this webinar. I hope you all in good condition and may you stay healthy during these pandemic times. In this very occasion, we also have special guests. Again, it is a pleasant surprise, Mr. Peri Warjio, the Governor of Bank Indonesia, who set aside his time to be with us in this webinar. Thank you very much, Pak Peri. We acknowledge Pak Peri as the big fan of Wayang. For that, we will be thankful if Pak Peri can deliver a few words of us in this webinar later. In line with our roles as the official representative of the government of the Republic in Indonesia overseas, Indonesian Embassy support the promotion of Indonesia art and culture in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Promoting Indonesian culture may attract more people to know and to visit Indonesia later in the future. Well, of course, it's not only related to the promoting culture, but of course, will open the gate for further collaboration between the Indonesia and Switzerland and Liechtenstein in also doing business. For the last 2 years, we have promoted Indonesian culture in several aspects. As we all know, there are so many aspects of Indonesian culture that can be promoted. On the cultural diplomacy, our embassy has always supported various types of events such as cultural performance, food bazaar, or even Indonesian Day. We have invited the provincial government in Indonesia atau pemerintah daerah di Indonesia to perform the dancing and to promote the local culture and product. We have our Indonesian food bazaar annually. We also held various cultural performance from Indonesian ethnic groups, from Batak, from Sulawesi, from Papua, and many more. Thanks to our Indonesian diaspora in Switzerland, it is impossible to do the cultural performance without the support of our diaspora. Just last year, we also held an Indonesian Day in the University of Liechtenstein, a whole day to promote batik, culinary, dancing, and other cultural performance to the people of Liechtenstein. We always brought our cultural performance as the side event whenever we join an exhibition and promotion. Recently, we opened the first Indonesian language class virtually. Let me tell you that we only need less than 15 minutes to fill the quota because the enthusiasm of learning Bahasa Indonesia is huge. In short, we got positive feedback and high interest from the local society, and we expect for more intense culture diplomacy in the future. We have planned for some exhibitions and culture performance later in the future, especially to prepare the 70th anniversary of Indonesia and Switzerland diplomatic relationship in a couple of years later. The embassy always welcome any Indonesian society or Swiss community that are willing to promote Indonesian culture. We have established good relation with our community here in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. We have group of Angklung pada Suka, we have Gamelan in Sion, Sanggar Tari in Geneva, and other places around the Switzerland and Liechtenstein. They have been a good partner of our embassy, being together to promote Indonesian culture in this area, in particular in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, the pandemic brought us in different situations now. Most of our events were canceled, but we must be thankful for the technology. We are now promoting some Indonesian companies and restaurants in Switzerland and Liechtenstein through our official social media and website. We hope that for those of you in Switzerland and Liechtenstein might still enjoy the taste of Indonesia here by visiting our shops, restaurant, or even our Bali spa. Ladies and gentlemen, as Indonesia consists of various cultures and ethnics, we should display it in turn. For this webinar this morning or this afternoon, it is time for us to explore on Wayang. The role of Wayang in Javanese society is very great and very deep, that one may say that Wayang is the identity of the Javanese. The word Wayang is taken from Javanese language meaning shadow, or taken meaning that puppet is a depiction of life or reflection of human nature that exists in human soul itself. The emergence of Wayang in Java has a relationship with the historical development of court culture or Curator in Java from ancient times to the current era of Indonesian independence. Hence, ethics are complicated in Wayang because the same course of action may not be applicable for every piece of Wayang. I believe later His Excellency Ambassador Samodra will explain more in a great detail about Wayang because it is his expertise. And of course, we would like also to hear from Ambassador Samudra about the philosophical background about Wayang later. Ladies and gentlemen, during this time, Museum Redberg, owned by the city of Zurich, is showcasing Wayang Kulit with the theme Stories About Life and the World from the last May until the end of November 2020. We deeply appreciate the exhibition is still happening amid the pandemic situation. I myself has visited the museum last week and since the Wayang collection with Dr. Bells and Mrs. Eva. Amid the pandemic situation, the health protocol has been conducted in the museum. We may understand that the visitors may not be as many as previous years. Thus, in that reason, we have this webinar and performance to provide more knowledge to the audience in Switzerland and Liechtenstein about Wayang, although they may not be able to go directly to the museum. I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the layout is designed just as the situation when the Wayang is performed with dim light, so we can see the shadow of those Wayang. The collection were sectioned into the stage of life so that the audience may relate to the stories and the philosophy of Wayang itself. For that, the Deputy Director of Museum Redberg, Dr. Johannes Bells, and the Curator who is working so hard for this exhibition, Mrs. Eva, are already with us this morning or this afternoon to share their experience in this webinar. We have a token of appreciation sent for both of you, Dr. Belt and Mrs. Eva, after this webinar. Dear friends of Indonesia in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, Dr. Belt is our partner who is very enthusiastic on Asian culture. We may listen Dr. Belt about his passion on Asian culture and specifically Indonesian culture. He will then explore more about the exhibition, the motivation, the process of collecting Wayang, the preparation, and the engagement with Mrs. Eva as the curator. Previously, a few years ago, Indonesia had an exhibition in this museum about keris. the traditional Indonesian dagger. We also have discussed the possibility of the museum exchange between Indonesia and Switzerland, which is hopefully done soon. Surely, we may expect more cooperation in the future between the Embassy of Indonesia here in Bern and the Museum of Redberg in Zurich. As for Mrs. Eva, she is an extraordinary Swiss woman who just loves Indonesian culture. For this exhibition, she has joined the workshop in Yogyakarta just to understand the Wayang restoration. She has only got in touch with the embassy in the last 2 years to discuss about her exhibitions. She will tell us on what is the most important message she would like to convey as a curator of the exhibition. Enjoying Wayang, of course, is not enough by only listening to our speakers. So today we will watch short performance by Ki Dalang, Catur Benyai Kuncoro. In a short time, we will watch the story of Raja Mala, a brave soldier who took revenge for his mother. The Dalang will live from Yogyakarta. I do hope we can travel virtually as we watch it, even though now we cannot go to Indonesia. To our friends, the people of Switzerland and Liechtenstein, this performance is specially made for you. Without further ado, let us enjoy the performance and actively participate in the discussion. We do hope that this webinar, you may know Indonesian Wayang, and the most important thing is understanding Wayang as part of our important culture. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. As the Ambassador said, we have a special guest today. So I will give the floor to Pak Peri Warjio for giving us a few words from you. Pak Peri, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mbak Sari, and a very good morning in Switzerland, a very good afternoon in Indonesia. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellency, Ambassador, my dear friend, Mr. Mulyaman Haddad, Ambassador Samudra, it's good to see you, Dr. Joanna Bells, and also Miss Eva von Ruman, and my friends in Switzerland, as well as Ki Dalang Catur Kuncoro. Well, really, I'm a big fan of Wayang. I will tell you why. 3 things, you know. Wayang is my blood, you know. Really, I really enjoy Wayang. Yeah. First, because I was born and raised in the villages by farmers, you know. That's why back then, Ambassador Mulyaman and Ambassador Samudra, you know, watching Wayang is not only an entertainment, because there is no electricity, there is no television. So whenever my father took me to Wayang, I'm very excited, very excited. There is a great entertainment for us in the villages. But for me, Wayang is beyond entertainment. Wayang is beyond entertainment. Because from my childhood, I learned a lot about Wayang. Not only the place, but also the great values of Javanese culture and Indonesia in general. I learned about how the character of the Wayang. I used to like Arjuna when I was young, because Arjuna is very smart, always competent, always professional, always winners. But when I grow up becoming the director, I'm becoming a fan of Krishna, which is strategic, you know, because, you know, I formulate policy, strategy, and so on. When becoming older, Ambassador Mulyaman and Ambassador Samudra, I like Semar, you know. Semar is the wise, you know, the wise man, where, you know. So I learned about how my character depicted a number of characters in the Wayang in my life. But I also learned the philosophy of Javanese culture. And many of them also reflection of the Muslim Islamic philosophy about always the fighting for the good, against the bad, also about how political, because in many wayang there is a political struggle between Pandawa, Kurawa, between some of the kingdom and kingdom. There's political intrigues, so there's drama, political drama, thriller or something like this. But also some romance, about Arjuna and Sri Kandi. So I learned a lot about, wayang is not about only I building my character, but also beyond that, about the way of life, philosophies, about the meaning of life, also fighting the good, against the bad, but also learn about, the politics, and so on. So I think that's the first one, why I always a fan of wayang. Second, for me, wayang is very effective communication. Wayang was used, has been used in the past to communicate about Javanese culture, about spreading of religion, especially Islam, but also communication. And nowadays, Bank Indonesia also still using wayang as communication. For example, when we talking about inflation in the villages, you cannot explain inflation in a chart, but you can explain inflation, exchange rate stability, or the way of we are doing money circulation and other things. We can communicate effectively to wayang, because everybody love wayang. It's a communication of the way we do and our policy of the central bank. That's why when Ambassador Mulyaman told me, my dear friend from Switzerland want to visit to Yogyakarta and in Solo to learn about wayang, about the gamelan and so on, we are participating that, because this is a very effective communication. That's number two. Number three, of course, Ambassador Samudra and also Ki Dalang Catur, there is challenge how to continuously wayang to be, the way of communicating about the culture, philosophy, policies, and so on. In this time of, what you can call globalization, digitalization, whatever, the duration, in the old days, I watch wayang all night, but now we may, condense wayang in shorter term. Also the language, from Javanese language to Bahasa Indonesia. That's why I'm also hearing Dalang Catur using also Bahasa Indonesia. We may also use wayang using English language. So everybody can learn. I think those are the challenge of how we continue supporting wayang as a way of communicating about the character, about the way of life, about how we communicate policy and so on. So I think there's three things. Ambassador Mulyaman, my dear friend, Ambassador Samudra, Dr. Joanna Abbas, Miss Eva. So back then, now, and the future, I always love wayang. So enjoying the show, and I really also enjoying the discussion. Thank you, Ambassador Mulyaman, my dear friends. Best regard to beloved wife and family there and all of the friends. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum.
Thank you.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Pak Peri. Selamat bertugas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Peri. Now we are going to the live performance. Our performance today will be Ki Catur Benyek Kuncoro. He will be from Yogyakarta. He has done various works, wayang ringkes, wayang republik, wayang hip hop, and wayang di Panagaran. He also done various workshops, international and national. He has done international performance in Thailand, Korea, Australia, Peru, New York, Los Angeles, and many more. Without further ado, let's enjoy the live performance from Yogyakarta, Ki Catur Benyek Kuncoro.
Raja Mala, raja dari segala Sumala. Ayo, jago dari Wirata, tandingilah Raja Mala, jago dari kepatian. Kepapa kepranggul mungguing mungsuh, kepapa kepranggul pawatnya, kepapaknya mungguing ngalogo. Ini jago dari Wirodo. Ayo, engkau Balowo sang jagal hewan, tandingilah jago dari kepatian, akulah Raja Mala. Doro Balowo, hati-hati lu Den, ini bukan sembarang musuh. Lihatlah, sekujur badannya penuh dengan luka-luka, sekujur badannya penuh dengan penyakit yang menular. Hati-hati Den. Wah, Raja Mala, ya, majulah secangkah, aku minum darahmu Balowo. Hati-hati Den. Awas. Ayo. 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 What? matilah sang Raja Mala di tangan sang Balawa. Tetapi ketika sang Raja Mala dimasukkan ke dalam sendang Watari, maka dia seperti mendapatkan nyawanya kembali. Raja Mala hidup seperti bangun dari tidurnya. Ayomu. Ayo. Den prayitna semurire ko balik titiyani gandayani blagagakugak sadulita melmel den Tuan Mrehatnala, lihatlah. Kakandamu kewalahan menghadapi sepak terjang si Raja Mala yang sangat-sangat beringas. Ketika dia mati, dimasukkan ke dalam sendang Watari, dia hidup lagi. Tuan, ketahuilah, sebenarnya sendang Watari atau sendang penghidupan itu terjadi dari ibunda si Raja Mala sendiri. Maka seperti bayi ketika dia dalam pelukan ibunya, dia akan merasa nyaman dan dia akan hidup kembali seperti sedia kala. Kiai Semar, lalu apa yang harus aku perbuat, Kiai? Masukkan panah beracun Tuan Mrehatnala. Masukkan panah itu ke dalam sendang Watari dan akan kita lihat apa yang akan terjadi, Tuan Mrehatnala. Tatkala Sendang Watari telah dimasuki panah sang Arjuna ya sang Mrihatnala, maka saat itu berubah seketika Sendang Watari menjadi mendidih, dan manakala sang Raja Mala dimasukkan ke dalam Sendang Watari, dia tidak hidup, namun dia hancur luluh lebur sang Raja Mala. Kalian orang-orang Wirata, kalian telah berlaku curang kepadaku. Kalian telah menyakiti ibuku. Kalian telah membunuh ibuku ya Sendang Watari. Kini aku harus mati bersama ibuku. Kalian menang. Tapi kalian lupa satu hal. Aku adalah sang Raja Mala. Aku adalah raja dari segala penyakit. Maka karena kalian telah membunuh ibuku, lihatlah murka sang Raja Mala. Kali ini aku akan berubah menjadi penyakit yang mudah menular dan susah untuk disembuhkan. Rasakan murka sang Raja Mala, wahai orang-orang Wirata. Waduh, bagaimana ini Pak? Bagaimana apanya Petro? Itu si Raja Mala mati. Iya, aku tahu Raja Mala telah mati. Tapi dia sesumbar Pak. Raja Mala mati tapi dia berubah menjadi penyakit yang sangat menular. Penyakit yang susah untuk disembuhkan Pak. Angkara murka tetap harus dibasmi dari muka bumi, Dole. Kita tinggal harus tahu bagaimana mengantisipasinya. Karena Raja Mala berubah menjadi penyakit yang mudah menular dan susah disembuhkan. Wartakan kepada seluruh rakyat di Wirata dan di seluruh dunia untuk selalu menjaga kebersihan tubuhnya. Harus meningkatkan kekebalan tubuh atau sistem imunnya. Jangan lupa selalu cuci tangan dan jaga jarak, jangan sampai penyakit Raja Mala ini mudah menular karena kita saling berdekatan. Oleh yang tidak kalah penting, selalulah pakai penutup hidung dan mulut. Jika kita mematuhi hal itu, maka penyakit Raja Mala ini akan segera musnah dari muka bumi. Oleh Terima kasih.
Thank you, Curator Kuncoro. Just to sum up, the story is about Raja Mala, a very brave soldier. So the performance was telling us about his revenge for his mother. So give a big applause once again to. Okay, thank you. So we are now heading to our discussion. We will have 3 speakers today. Our first speaker is His Excellency Ambassador Samudra Sriwijaya. He graduated from International Relations, the University of Gajah Mada, Yogyakarta. He was a career diplomat in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia since 1974, and his life assignment was the ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to Austria and non-resident ambassador to Slovenia. He is now the head of Union International de la Marionette, UNIMA, Indonesia since 2010. Let us welcome Ambassador Samudra Wijaya, who will talk about the Wayang and the philosophical meaning. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency Ambassador Mulyaman, Excellency Dr. Perry Warjio, who is on the left. I do hope that one day sometime Semar will be reflected in the current state of Wayang money of Indonesia. The third day is Dr. Johannes Belt. The fourth is Mrs. Eva von Reumann and Ki Catur Kuncoro. Yang bagus sekali. Aliran Yogyakarta ya, Pak. Let me start my presentation by mentioning.
I would like to. Okay, next please.
The Javanese Shadow Theater, stories about life and the world. The first one.
Next page.
Our topics today, the first one is the importance of wayang kulit in the past. The secondly, the importance of wayang kulit today or nowadays. The thirdly, the future of wayang kulit. Fourth, Indonesian government efforts in protecting and promoting wayang kulit. And the last one is the role of UNEMA. The importance of wayang kulit in the past. Various scholars believe in the importance of wayang in the past. Before Wali Songo, according to Dr. Hassan, wayang was known as Javanese animation as a cultural product dating back to the earliest reference from 400 AD. The other scholar named Mulyono predicted that wayang already existed since Neolithicum, dating back to 1500 BC. Dr. Hassan believed that wayang originated from Java, which emerged from traditional ceremony to respect their ancestors. Other scholars indicated that wayang was established to communicate with ancestral spirits. The influence of Mahabharata and Ramayana from India is a transformation of wayang, not only as a ritual or traditional ceremony, but also as an entertainment of art. Both legacies delivered from India developed from the 10th century to the 15th century. The importance of wayang kulit in the past. Under the authority of Islamic priest or wali, wayang went through transformations, where it is not only used as a traditional ritual with the dimensions of spirituality and entertainment, but also as a tool to spread Islam throughout Indonesia and especially in Java. Through that period, the appearance of wayang transformed into a less human-like form, but still dashing and beautiful. This is due to the belief in Islam that it is not forbidden to make humans a cult. Personally, today, the new appearance of wayang was accepted by the community. The importance and relevance of wayang kulit nowadays still important to develop character building, not only as entertainment, but also as a principle of guidance in life, inspiring the political system and society or local system. The persona of people reflect the character of wayang figure. For example, association of people personality who are strong-willed reflect the character of Bima, like Governor of Indonesia is reflect from Semar. The future of wayang kulit. Wayang kulit should be maintained by educating the younger generation. For example, at the Festival of Wayang Kulit, in the level of province and national, participated by young puppeteers will be very effective. In the past, people would watch a wayang performance live overnight, but nowadays, due to technology, people are watching live streaming through YouTube or social media.
Next.
The types of wayang. Long time ago, there are 100 kinds of wayang. We spread all over Indonesia. Due to financial difficulties, management and supporters, different kind of wayang reduced to 25, which is called wayang Nusantara. Among 25, there are 4 kinds of wayang that are striking, such as wayang santri, wayang kulit, wayang kampung, wayang menak, wayang kampung sebelah. Due to the COVID-19, the performance of wayang kulit is through social media, yet the rating is still high. It is the kind of wayang who exists until right now. It's wayang santri, wayang kulit, and wayang kulit.
Next.
Indonesian government's effort in promoting wayang kulit. Under the decision of presidential decree, we celebrate National Poverty Day on November 7 every year. It gives the government an opportunity from a central or provincial level to encourage cultural groups to organize wayang kulit performances. Our government also sent cultural organizations supported by the Indonesian Embassy of Consulate abroad. At the moment in Yogyakarta, University of Gajah Mada opened the Faculty of Philosophy of Wayang. In depth, the philosophy of Wayang study in detail. In philosophy, one of the most popular one, that the winner is not always the winner in war, but also the winner of heart and mind of the people. This is one of the philosophy of Wayang. The role of UNIMA in promoting and preserving wayang kulit. UNIMA is the abbreviation of Union Internationale de la Marionnette, which was established in 1929 in Prague. On December 15, 2009, Indonesia became member of UNIMA number 60 from 100 members of UNIMA International, and established by founding members Senawangi, Secretariat of Indonesian Puppetry, and Papadi Association of Indonesian Puppeteers. The headquarters of UNIMA International is located at the Sarreville Measures, France. Every year, UNIMA conduct a meeting where Indonesia always participate. The last meeting focused on the preparation of UNIMA Indonesia as the host for International UNIMA Congress, World Poverty Festival, and International Seminar in Bali, planned for 2020. The vision UNIMA is to develop international peace through culture. The mission is to establish friendship through culture. Through UNIMA, every member would create cooperation and standing culture group. Every year, some countries, including China, organize international puppetry festival and participate by being puppeteers from member of UNIMA.
Next.
Next, please. The role of UNIMA in promoting and presenting wayang kulit. UNIMA International celebrate International Puppetry Day every 21st of March, while Indonesia celebrate International Puppetry Day on 21st of March 2018. Organizes all kinds of traditional art and performances, also attended by Mr. Dadi Pudumye, the president of UNIMA International. Indonesia was selected to be the host of International Congress, World Puppetry Festival, and International Seminar in April 2020. But due to the COVID-19, the event will be postponed until year 2001. For further information, please visit our website, www.unima.co.id.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for giving us the enlightenment about the history, about wayang as art entertainment, and the most important thing that we will now remember and celebrate 7th November as a day of wayang, the National Day of Wayang. Thank you, Ambassador, for your presentation. Let's move on to our second speaker, Dr. Johannes Belz. He is from Zurich. He is now Deputy Director and Head of Board of Trustees in Museum Redberg. He is also a specialist lecturer in Hinduism, University of Zurich since 2005. He graduated, he got PhD at the University of Lausanne and École Pratique des Hautes Études of Paris. Pardon me for the pronunciation, with the topic of Mahar, Buddhist and Dalit, the religious conversion and socio-political emancipation in India. So, and he has done various field work in Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Orissa, all of this city is in India. So let's welcome our second speakers today, Dr. Johannes Belz. You have the floor.
Yes, good morning to everyone. And first of all, thank you very much for this great opportunity to talk with colleagues and friends in Indonesia. And I'm very pleased that in these difficult times of COVID-19, we have this opportunity at least to meet online in a virtual space. We had planned with our exhibition, I tell you a little bit more about in a few moments, that we invite some performers from Indonesia to Zurich, but all these plans and nice ideas we could not do. And I'm so glad that, COVID enabled us to invent new ways of communicating and being together, and this webinars and Zoom conferences, I think, is something very, very precious. And thank you for organizing this. Let me briefly explain who we are. The Museum Redberg is a museum of non-European art or world art based in the city of Zurich. So we are a municipal museum hosting collections from all over the world, from China, Africa, South Asia, Latin America, North America, Africa, etc. And what we want to do in our museum is to share world culture with our audiences. And we organize exhibitions and workshops and conferences, and we try to communicate and to transmit and make accessible our collections to our audiences, and of different age groups and social backgrounds. And so the core idea is that we preserve, protect, document, and share world art in our museum. And I'm in charge of the collections of South and Southeast Asia. And I'm very glad that we have small, but not big in numbers, but important collection of artworks coming from Southeast Asia, and in particular from Indonesia. The last exhibition on Indonesian art, which was mentioned in the beginning already, is already few decades back. We have done the last exhibition in the 1980s or 90s, 70s, so it's long time back. And I'm very pleased that this year we could have this exhibition on Wayang kulit. And how did this happen? In the beginning, there was a Swiss collector, Paul Stoller, who started collecting Indonesian shadow puppets. And when he expired, his wife, Tina Stoller, then offered this collection to our museum. And we happily agreed to bring these objects to our museum. And we found also someone, and that is Eva von Rollmann, who is going to speak in a few moments. We found her to restore them and to study them and explain them and explain to us what these figures are about. And she did bring the necessary expertise and insights about these artworks to our museum. And within 2 years or 3 years, I think we could mount this exhibition, which opened in spring. So I'm very thankful, or we are all very thankful to Paul and Tina Stoller to offering this and donating this collection to our museum. And we were very lucky to open the exhibition in June, early June, with, of course, all the necessary restrictions regarding the number of visitors who can see at the same time these objects in the exhibition space. And now we have to wear masks and all these measures. But even though I'm very glad that our museum has been open since June, and I see that people appreciate and love to come back to the museum and adore art and see these exhibitions. And I think we are, as a cultural institution, we are an important player to talk about culture and the significance of art and make people happy and understand. And we work for tolerance and peace, understanding of other cultures. And I think this is an important mission. So I'm very glad that despite all these difficult and challenging circumstances, we have calculated that more than 7,000, maybe 5,500 visitors already saw this exhibition, and were very excited to know more about it. And I'm very pleased that we found a way to provide more background and context information, and initiating a cooperation with some filmmakers, local filmmakers in Java, who are producing little videos of 5 to 10 minutes about different aspects of Wayang kulit. Because our exhibition, there are certain limits to it. So we show the figures, we present some short videos about performances and the making of these figures and the dalangs. but the theme is so complex and so huge, and there's so many artists and artistic traditions involved that I think we need more context information, and our audience would appreciate this very much. And if I have a wish to add here, that would be maybe for a live performance online on the National Puppetry Day on 7th November, whether we could have something with subtitles or some dubbing or something in English, because that's really a challenge for our visitors and myself, who doesn't understand any word of Javanese or languages spoken in Indonesia. So the beauty of the dialogues and the characters, which you think are so important, and to understand that they are smart and villain and they are good in strategy making and good fighters, these subtle details and this kind of information is we do not access here. So if I would make a wish, if I could make a wish, I mean, I would like to see a possibility of understanding the dialogues which are performed on stage. I think that would be really something interesting and very much appreciated by our audiences in the museum. Maybe I just let you know that our exhibition is still on till the end of November, and that there are more videos being produced in Java, and we had organized exhibition talks, interviews. We invited a professor from Frankfurt University to talk about Islam and Wayang Kulit, which is something I think very interesting, and our audiences do not know this fascinating story of Wayang Kulit in Indonesia in the past, in the history. So we are trying to really use this exhibition to spread as much as possible of knowledge about Indonesia in our museum. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity to have this online talk and discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Johannes Belz. We are taking note of your wish. We're taking note of your wish, and we do hope we have more cooperation. We'll look forward for it. And yeah, let's keep in touch. And before we are moved to our third speaker, we have a very short video from Dr. Belz. Please, can we see the video? Yeah. The beginning. Play. 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 Play.
Namaskar. Welcome to the Museum Redberg. The Museum Redberg was founded in 1952 as a museum for non-European art. It houses collections with artworks from all over the world, Asia, Latin America, Africa, etc. The Museum Redberg is today very active in the fields of exhibition making, of research, of collecting, documenting our collections, etc. And one of our core ideas and missions is to launch and realize cooperation projects with our partner institutions all over the world. We think it is very, very important that we work together with those museums and institutions and those countries from where our artworks originally come from.
So before we are moved to our third speaker, we will open a question and answer session after this third speaker. So if you would like to ask the panelists some question, please type in the chat column or if you are watching us via YouTube, please type the question in the live chat and I will read it for the panelists. So we are moving to our third speakers, Ms. Eva Christian von Roymond. He is the co-curator of Javanese Shadow Theater exhibition, which are now happening in the Museum of Redberg in Zurich. She is now a doctoral candidate at the Institute of Social Anthropology, University of Bern. She is the initiator and co-speaker of Wayang Kulit Conservation Workshop at University of Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. She previously done her research internship on Wayang Kulit collection in Tropenhagen Museum, Amsterdam. Mrs. Eva has visited us, the embassy, several times, discussing a lot about this exhibition. Now, let us welcome Mrs. Eva to share her presentation. Mrs. Eva, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to inform about this exhibition. I greet each and every one of you individually without reading your names. And yes, I would like to begin just to mention when the first time I actually came in contact with Wayang Kulit. It was quite a while ago as an internship in a museum in Berlin, in the Ethnological Museum. I was given a Balinese figure of Gadjah Mada. It was in 2012. And here I was allowed to restore the figure. It was very broken, actually. It had lost a leg because it is a figure with which you can fight. And I was very much amazed, not only of the aesthetics, but then also of all the information, the iconography, and the philosophy behind Wayang Kulit. So in 2012, as a young student then, I understood that I wanted to continue my research later when I have the time to do my master's thesis on the subject. And this master's thesis, I decided to make quite a big scale. So I went to Amsterdam to the Tropen Museum, which has the largest collection in Europe, beautiful collection. And here I received a scholarship from the research center in Leiden to make an international field study. So I visited 28 museums in the whole of Europe, 9 different countries, and informed myself about their collection and also about the manner in which they have done exhibitions, because Javanese Wayang Kulit is incredibly popular in the West, and there have been and there are ongoingly exhibitions to show the beauty of the artwork. And this was very informative and very pleasing to me, because I must admit, the more that I have been acquainted, the more I find out about Wayang Kulit, the more I must admit I am falling in love, or I have fallen in love. Very often in Indonesia, you do hear young people that say, I am in love with Wayang Kulit. And I understand this emotion because it is so dense, it is so full. Each character wants to give you a message that is very valuable for life. And this is something that I cherish, to know and to always be reminded that in our life, we will always continue to learn. So we can never stop learning. And that is certainly something that Sema will always remind us of, that we make mistakes all the time and we are not perfect. We are full of weaknesses in our strength. So this is the underlining emotion that I have when I work with Wayang Kulit. I have strong respect towards each and every figure, because they are so unique and so beautiful. And that's why in this exhibition it was the goal and the hope to actually explain more about what Wayang Kulit is. So all these exhibitions that have been shown in the past, they really focused mainly on the aesthetic phenomenon. So we are very we are very amazed by these thin pieces of art that are beautifully drawn and beautifully made. But seldomly have the exhibitionists been able to, the curators been able to explain what it is. And this was our goal, to really show what does a character mean and what are the stories about, even though you can't explain all the stories, in which atmosphere do these figures actually exist. And being a PhD student then, it was clear that I could offer to the museum to go to Indonesia. So this is what I did in the beginning of 2019. Last year, I spent 2 months in Indonesia in Java, in order to give the exhibition a feeling for contemporary, because certainly it is not clear in Europe that wayang kulit is not an old art. It is an art that is happening right now, and this was very, very important for us to try and find the method of displaying this. And so I was lucky. I went there in the middle of March till the beginning of May, and this was just the time before the Ramadan. And as you all know, this is a time where there are many performances. So I was lucky to experience many performances. And I had a personal assistant, Marta Satuati, which I spent many thanks to. She helped me in a great deal to get close to conversations and people. And this is where we also met Ki Catur Benyek. Thank you so much for all of your insights. And I was living with a wonderful family who I'd also like to thank, Mas Eko and his wife, Mba Ari, and their 2 children. It was a beautiful experience for me to see how close wayang kulit is to the people of Java. And exactly. So the idea behind the exhibition was for me to show what wayang is about. And from my perspective, what I learned in my research is that the information can be read out of the form of the figures. So here, let me just show you a very popular figure. This is Arjuna, and he is a very virtuous character in opposed to his cousin, where is he here? Dursasana. So these 2 figures, you can see, have a very different aesthetic in their form. And it was wonderful to explain that these pointy noses and narrow bodies are hold information. And here the Dursasana, which is, he's everyone that knows him will understand that his character is not of virtue, that it is and this is how we decided to display the characters, to take the Mahabharata story and the popular figures of the Mahabharata story and show that the 2 sides, the virtuous and those that make many mistakes and do not listen to advice, how they work opposite each other, opposing each other. And as Johannes Belz has also described, we have been showing the figures from the front. So many people ask, why does the audience in Indonesia not show the shadow side? Why do we sit on the side of the dalang? Why do we want to see everything? And in the exhibition, this is exactly what you understand, that the shadows are actually seen also from the audience side. And we had the luck of, while I was in Indonesia, I had a camera team with me. So we also had very many videos to show, which have been displayed on the walls of the exhibition. And you can feel what it is like to be in Java. You listen to the music in the background and you are able to understand how it feels like to be there. So the message actually that we have, that was my main goal with this exhibition, is to show that the Javanese wayang kulit is so part of the culture that it cannot be, you cannot think of Java without wayang kulit, and that it is still very much alive at this point. So I'm happy to receive your questions and to go more into depth of what yes. of what I have done and what we have been able to display. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. So I taking note that the most important message is to show that Javanese wayang kulit is the main identity of Javanese culture. So we cannot talk about Javanese culture without mentioning wayang kulit.
It certainly is very entwined and very close, and the identity, and that is the beauty, actually, that because of the depth of the information and the philosophy behind it, every Javanese can be so proud of this phenomena, because it is hard to find another artwork and another performance practice that is so complex like wayang kulit, with the gamelan orchestra and the singers, and even if you do not understand, it is beautiful. I enjoyed it so much, sitting there and listening to all of the impressions, because you can feel that it is important and it is entertaining, but it is also valuable information, incredibly valuable information, and it is fun to learn. And I think the very first speaker, it was wonderful how he described his love for wayang kulit, because of the density and the respect that you learn, how to respect human nature, is something that is not easy. So yes.
Yeah.
May I add?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes. I just want to put an exclamation mark to what my colleague said. And what we try to do in this exhibition, I think, is to tell our audiences that wayang kulit is not a dying art. It's not about dead objects. It's not about artworks as such. We try to tell our audiences, as much as possible about all these complex and many themes we have been discussing on aspects to wayang kulit, and the characters and the attraction for young people, and the entertainment and education. All these aspects we try to talk about, though it's challenging. I mean, it's not very easy, but I think what people should take with them home when they saw the exhibition is this fact that the meaning of wayang kulit today for people in Indonesia and in Java is so important, and that there are young people who still like to see performances and they love these characters, and it's not something of the past, which is very easily misunderstood. When you see figures from the 19th and 18th century in some museum of wayang kulit, then it looks old and it looks antique, and as it's stories of the past, but this is not the case. And I wanted to add another beauty of this or aspect and of this talk we do today, and this format what we are using. We will have next week a similar conference with a group of specialists and museum people from India, and we will talk about the shadow puppet theater tradition in South India and compare it to the tradition in Java. And I think this is so beautiful, that we can, with this exhibition, attract even audiences who are thousands of kilometers away, and we can assemble them around the table and talk about Javanese shadow puppets at the same time as shadow puppets in South India, and how these artistic traditions developed in different ways, and what is their significance and their meaning today. I think this is really beautiful.
Thank you, Dr. Belts. So that's our three panelists for today. So we are now opening the question and answer session. we have noticed some people who has typed their question in the chat box, and I noticed that some of the question is similar. So may I just present one comprehensive question? So from Bapak Ahmad Said Widodo, from Ibu Maudi Sandra, and okay, the question is about how important the wayang kulit now in Switzerland, how wayang kulit can reflect the identity of Japanese culture, and how often the wayang kulit performance is performed in in Switzerland. So let me first give the floor to our ambassador to explain about the exhibition of wayang in Switzerland, and then I will give the floor to the panelists. Okay, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Ibu Ruth. Let me answer first in Bahasa Indonesia and then later in English, because the question is in Indonesia. Pertanyaan dari Pak Said Widodo dan Ibu siapa tadi? Mbak Maudia. Ya. Minat terhadap budaya Indonesia besar di Swiss ya, dan di Swiss dan Liechtenstein. Terutama terkait dengan wayang kulit ya. Ada sekolah di Swiss ini yang sekolah seni sebetulnya, tapi kemudian memperkenalkan wayang kulit kepada masyarakat Swiss ya. Dan kita bekerja sama dengan sekolah tersebut sudah cukup lama. Bahkan kita menyumbangkan satu set wayang ya ke sekolah ini, dan kemudian juga mendidik anak-anak sekolah dan juga dalang ya, sehingga kemudian kita juga punya dalang orang Swiss asli ya yang bisa memberikan pertunjukan ya. Saya kira mungkin dalam kesempatan berikutnya kita akan tunjukkan kemampuan dalang dari Swiss dan anak-anak Swiss yang bermain gamelan ya. Di Swiss ini melihat budaya ini tidak semata-mata budaya dalam artian kesenian ya, tapi kemudian dikaitkan juga misalnya gamelan sebagai sarana pendidikan ya. Bahkan untuk beberapa hal musik gamelan ini dijadikan sarana pengobatan lah ya, terutama bagi anak-anak yang hiperaktif diminta main gamelan sehingga dia terpaksa harus tunduk dan patuh kepada peraturan ya, dan kekompakan sesama pemegang alat musik dalam tim gamelan itu. Sehingga dengan demikian gamelan ini di Swiss ini menarik, dia dijadikan sarana untuk berbagai macam sarana pendidikan. Oleh karena itu tentu saja kami terus berusaha untuk memperkenalkan gamelan, mengirim beberapa calon dalang ke Solo dan Jogja, belajar dari Solo dan Jogja, kemudian kembali ke Eropa dan kemudian memperkenalkan wayang di Eropa, ya terutama tentu saja di Swiss. Oleh karena itu mohon dukungan, support dari Indonesia terkait dengan upaya kita untuk memperkenalkan wayang lebih lanjut, terutama di Swiss yang menjadi tempat tugas kami di sini. Ya. For Mr. Belt and Mrs. Anna, I just answered the question regarding the understanding or the interest of Swiss people on wayang, and how then the embassy involved in this wayang introduction in Switzerland. We have a group of community here in Switzerland who have interest in wayang, and then even we have a school, musical school in wayang, located in Sion, part of the southern part of Switzerland, and we even provide the school with a set of wayang we bring all the set of wayang from Indonesia and then give to this school. And then regularly the school performing the wayang and gamelan to Swiss audience. So I think this will continue, and then we promote collaboration not only with these existing schools, but also perhaps with other related institution or related school, related foundation, or related parties, including yourself, Dr. Belts, the museums, how to promote Indonesian culture, in particular wayang. As our speakers mentioned, wayang is only part of our culture. That's why then we quite open to establish further collaboration between Indonesia and Switzerland, you know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
So may
thank you.
I add that a few years back, we had received a big delegation from the Indonesian central federal government in Zurich. And we spoke about this exhibition, and we told them also that we would be very interested to host a performance, you know, of a real wayang kulit ensemble, you know, including the orchestra and puppet player. But I know that it's a very ambitious project. It's a lot of people involved. It's about having a stage in place and organizing this. So unfortunately, we are not able to realize this kind of major cooperation project between Switzerland and Indonesia, which really would, I think, promote wayang kulit in Switzerland a lot. But maybe in the future that could be done. And I think a touring ensemble, a group of wayang kulit performers with a selection of pieces which are accessible in English or with subtitles, that would be really, really nice in the future. And to have that touring in Europe. And I'm sure that there might be other venues possible and interested except Switzerland, outside Switzerland, right? So if the government in Indonesia would or could initiate a tour of that kind, which tours in Europe, that would, I think, be a wonderful initiative and a sign, you know, of friendship and partnership which you send out. And I know, I mean, we all know right now with COVID-19, this is not possible. But maybe, you know, next year, in a couple of years, this kind of project could be undertaken. I would be very pleased, and we would be very lucky to receive the performers here in Zurich. And I'm sure there might be many other museums and cities who would be happy to have performances of that kind happening.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Belts. Mrs. Eva, would you like to add something about the response of the audience from your exhibition, perhaps?
Well, to answer the question, I must say it's a very interesting question that how many performances there are, because obviously it is not you cannot imagine if you have so many performances in your area, as it is the case in Central Java. It might be difficult to imagine a place where there are not such performances. And here in Switzerland, actually, we don't have the artists, we don't have the gamelan orchestras. There are gamelan orchestras in Europe, in Germany and in England. There are actually orchestras that could travel here. We could invite them. but let alone the instruments. If you imagine all of the gongs, they weigh a couple of tons, so it's really quite complicated to transport them. It costs a lot of money actually to transport them. We found out when we were planning to have a performance for the inauguration of the museum. So it is quite a complicating topic of having an exhibition. But there was, just to add, while we were introducing this exhibition to the museum, in the museum panel, there was one lady who had a memory of a performance. It must have dated 10 years ago, and it happened in cooperation with a theater group in Zurich. And they really managed to import the whole feeling of a Javanese orchestra and the length. 8 hours is an incredibly long time. We are not acquainted with that length. But this lady that experienced it, and also later I met someone else who had experienced it as a young girl. It was such an intense memory that they remembered it, and also the emotion. So it was such a strong memory. And everyone that has been in Java, it is a strong memory, but also you can actually transport this feeling to Switzerland with sponsors. So we'll need a lot of sponsors, obviously. And then there is also the possibility of the traveling dalang, as Johannesberg said. And there was a group from Malaysia that actually offered to come, that it didn't work. And I know of a dalang that is planning a tour next year from Solo. And they have a recording machine, so you can break it down. But of course, to invite a whole musician and a whole gamelan, which is the whole experience, it is incredibly complicating. So we'll need a lot of people, a lot of institutions to help. Yes.
But may I suggest that the government of Indonesia sends a small size ensemble with a reduced number of musicians and instruments and etc. to make it more easier. But what Eva said, I really want to underline. What would be extraordinary and something people will never forget when they experience this here is to have a performance, which goes on for hours during the night, where people can go and come back, have a nap, eat something, smoke, go and come. This kind of long, it's like attending a concert in India, which goes on for hours and hours. We are not used to this kind of performances anymore. Unless for pop music, but our opera and concerts, classical music, this is a very different setting, where you sit in a suit, you don't move, you don't talk, definitely not during a performance. You have your intersection, your little break, but otherwise it's a very codified and standardized procedure. And I think it would be really, really fantastic to allow audiences in Europe to understand, appreciate, and experience this different kind of theater tradition. And I'm 100% sure that would be a magic moment for many people to experience this. So okay. Please take this as an invitation and as a stimulating idea and a wish from our side.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Belts. We have taken notes. And we have two questions. I will address it to all of the panelists. We received it through our live chat in YouTube. So two questions. The first one, we all know that there are a lot of violence in Wayang Kulit, since we almost always see the character is killing each other. So what do you think about this? And the second question will be, Wayang is an old culture. It's already done for ages, for several years and years, hundreds of years ago. So why is it still important for you? So the first one, I would like to ask His Excellency Ambassador Samudra first to answer these two questions. Ambassador Samudra.
Violence.
Okay,
Langsung.
we have already heard you.
Yeah, yeah. Sabar.
I'd like to answer the question of Maudi Sandra. If I refer to the proclamation by WHO that Wayang Indonesia is the oral and intangible heritage of humanity, it means that the character of Wayang, especially the philosophy of Wayang, the life of philosophy is also as long as the life of human being. So that's why Wayang is not as a story of the old one, but we can make, from time to time to make modernize of the Wayang. For instance, until right now, the younger generations, if we ask them to watch Wayang overnight directly, it might be there is no person who interested it. But through YouTube, through online, they can follow the story of Wayang through more effective and more efficient. And secondly, we try to introduce the philosophy of Wayang in daily life. For instance, that the winner in Wayang is not only the winner who win during the war, but also the winner of heart and mind of the people. It is very important. And I'm sure that this philosophy is not the old one, but we can make this philosophy all the time. Thank you.
Okay. I wonder. Well, I would be happy to continue the question. So the first question was actually a detail on Wayang Kulit performances, so the violence that happens in the scenes, which, as I've understood, do belong to the popular moments. So it is around midnight where the big fights happen, and the music and the virtuous the virtue of the dalang, how we can move the figures, is portrayed in these fighting scenes. And yes, I am curious to know it's actually an interesting question, so forth as it is coming from a viewer that understands also the whole background of the fight. And I wonder, I wish I could ask the question to the Indonesian people who watch it. I'm not sure how I can relate to that. I guess violence is something that we do not want to propagate. I wonder if the dalang, or if the stories do not also mean it in an abstract form, that Raja Mala in the story that Ki Banyak has just showed us now, he turned into the virus. So it is you can see how it is also an energy. It's in a bad energy that you want to get rid of, and sometimes energy is so bad you have to try and kill it. So it is. I'm sure there's a lot of philosophy behind it. But I obviously wonder why violence and why it is so entertaining. And I guess it does reflect a form in cinema. Obviously, there are many movies that are about violence and things like that. So it's only natural that would also be in Wayang Kulit to show also what people are interested to see. And emotions can get very loud. And I think it reflects something that humans are used to seeing also.
Okay, thank you, Eva. Dr. Bells, you have some words to say, answers.
I just want to to add that I would be interested to know this answer being replied by people from Indonesia. You know, for me, it's violence. It's in all forms of entertainment. It's present. You know, any movie, any action movie, any heroes, Batman, or you name them all. It's about good and bad and evil, and it's about fighting and forces and of good and forces of, it's part of this, of the story. But I'm very curious to know more about the perception of this violence on stage by the audiences in Indonesia. I have no, that I can't explain this, but I would be interested to know how people react to this.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bess. Ambassador Samudra, do you have any views about the violence in Wayang, how the good wins over the bad, or do you have some things that we can give us enlightenment about this?
In a simple way, we can make a introduction about the film. If we watch on film, there is a title. It is available for 16 years old, or it is not available for under 16 years old. It's been that violence. And also the dirty word is not good for the people who are under the 16 years old. It is under right now we follow these rules. And secondly, in diplomacy, we recognize about the just war. The just war is mean that there will be no compromise between bad and good. We can compromise this one. So that's why if we can compromise between bad and good, the solution will be not only war, but as I said, how to win heart and mind of the people. It's not always war in the simple mean with a gun or something like that. That is my additional explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. We are now heading to our closing session, but just to answer one more question from YouTube Live, and please give us your closing statement. So, which are the Wayang values that you can absorb and reflect in your personal life? If there's any values from Wayang, or one thing you are very fond of Wayang that you may reflect in your life, or perhaps you as a Switzerland people, you as an Indonesian people, would you tell us your story and give us like a closing statement? Thank you. We'll start from Eva, perhaps.
Thank you. That is a very nice question, actually. I had a few seconds to think about it. And I think yes, I think my answer definitely goes into the direction of the fact that it is important for the Wayang figures, those Wayang figures that are very virtuous, they have learned to concentrate. So I understand concentration as a form of meditation. Meditation could also be a form of prayer. So it's a moment where you reflect on the universe, on the all-embracing, on everything, on the one and only. You can call it many different ways, and this is a message in Wayang that is very strong. So Semar and Bima and Arjuna and all of those figures that have learned to be good, to really think of the other person and not think only about themselves, because the figures like Sankuni and Dursasana, they only think about themselves, and they cause a lot of destruction through that. But these figures that are virtuous, they had to train, they had to practice, they had to go within themselves, they had to understand that that the human nature is a powerful nature. It's a lot of emotions, and in order to control them, in order to be yourself in a way that you are good to others, you need to concentrate, and you need to absorb something that is much bigger than you. And I love that thought, that it is an all-embracing. It's a task, and it takes your whole life, because only Semad, only he is really the person that is all wise. All of us, we have to practice all the time, and I think that is a message that I will hold on to from Wayang Kulit.
Thank you, Eva. So next, Ambassador Samudra, do you have in mind about the Wayang values and your closing statement, please?
I suggest, especially for Dr. Eva, that please, if possible, send your student to visit Faculty of Philosophy in Gajah Mada University in Yogyakarta. By exchange of you in that occasions, you will more understand deeply what is it, why Wayang still exists until right now. And so many students who study about that, not only in Indonesia, but also came from the other countries. My experience to participate and to bring the culture group Indonesia abroad, the difficulties actually came from the custom and the immigration, because they always make very difficult conditions to bring instruments. Because like, for instance, of course, we want to explain a lot about Wayang in Switzerland, for instance. And we need the instruments more completely rather than just the simple one. But the difficulty is, as we bring the instruments past Indonesia, but not past your country, it is make difficult and sometimes make frustration for the group of culture in my country. And secondly, I just to advise, because you do a lot of research. If you have a time, please also research about Wayang who is almost disappear in Singkawang. It's called Wayang Gantung. It is merely like Wayang Potehi in China, but it's completely different. I'm afraid that Wayang Gantung will be disappear because nobody care about that. If your museum have Wayang Gantung, will be, your museum is the only museum who possesses this wayang. Please to do that, and of course, if you need assistance, we have a representative and close to the Singkawang. It might we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambassador. So, Dr. Belts.
So the beauty for me of the Wayang Kulit are the figures, and it's the performance of these figures together with music, sound, speaking, dialogues, and it's the fun of seeing these puppets moving on stage. And I think this is something very universal and everyone can appreciate. And I really would like to know more and see these kind of performances more often in Europe and in our museum, and maybe around the 7th of November, but on your National Puppetry Day or at any other moment. And maybe we identify in the future some museum in Java and Indonesia who would like to build up a cooperation, a partnership over the years, which which can produce workshops, seminars, an exchange of experts and joint exhibitions or projects. So I'm very optimistic, and I hope that this exhibition and this webinar is a starting point. It's a beginning of something which we can work on later, and I look forward to this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for all panelists. We do apologize for the question. We have no time for the answer because of the time. So for the closing one, Mr. Ambassador, would you like to have some closing statement before we?
Thank you very much. On behalf of the embassies of the Republic of Indonesia here in Switzerland, I would like particularly thanks to Dr. Johannes Belz and Mrs. Eva for the time you share with us. Well, of course, Wayang is very interesting topic. Yeah, a lot of characters. That's why Wayang is a lot of lesson for life. You know, we are looking forward, as Dr. Johannes Belt mentioned earlier, that looking forward to have further collaboration and cooperation. Both sides, Indonesia and Switzerland, will keep in touch, and then I will also keep in touch with Ambassador Samudra for further collaboration and cooperation. And well, of course, a lot of things that we have to promote in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, you know, in particular about Wayang, you know. In Indonesian word, it is very popular that tak kenal maka tak sayang. You know, you never love if you don't know. You know, that's why it is very important to introduce our Wayang. There has been a lot of initiatives, promotion and exhibition here in Switzerland related to Indonesian culture. We are looking forward to see our cooperation, Dr. Belt, in the near future. I'm thinking about the celebration of our Wayang National Day, you know, on the 7th of November. Let's talk what we can do for the 7th of November. Perhaps we can do similar activity like this, you know, or performing or whatever. I think Ruth will keep in touch with you to discuss further for our collaboration. Again, on behalf of the embassy, thank you very much for both of you, and also for Pak Dubes, Pak Samudra. Thank you very much indeed for your participation. It is really grateful to have you as a panelist to bring us how we have to see Wayang in more philosophical way. I think this is very important. Again, looking forward to have you all in the near future. Thank you very much for your participations.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. For those who are watching, you are all still invited to the Wayang exhibition in Museum Redberg in Zurich. They will be open until the end of November. So for all our friends in Switzerland or Liechtenstein, please make your time to visit the Wayang exhibition. That's it for today. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you, the ambassador. Thank you all for your watching us via Zoom and or via YouTube. We will see you in another occasion in another topic. Thank you very much. Good afternoon in Bern and good evening in Jakarta. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.